In the dim light of ancient fires, women sat together in sacred circles, hands placed over swollen bellies, their voices rising in chant. They called upon the gods and goddesses, whispering prayers for strength, protection, and the gift of life. It was here, under the flickering flames, that the first stories of divine mothers and life-givers were born. These were the stories of goddesses who walked alongside the people, protectors of birth, bearers of children, nurturers of life. In every corner of the world, from the deserts of Egypt to the lush fields of ancient Greece, the figure of the mother goddess stood at the center of belief and ritual. There was something undeniably powerful about these figures, something magnetic, something that transcended time and space. The goddesses of motherhood, childbirth, and fertility were not just figures in myth, they were living, breathing symbols of life itself, and every child born into this world carried the mark of their divine essence. As the sun set over the Egyptian pyramids, the mother goddess Isis, with her wings spread wide, protected the lives of mothers and children. Her name was whispered in every home, a reminder that the safety of the family rested in her hands. In her arms, she held Horus, her son, the very embodiment of hope for the future. Her stories were passed down from mother to daughter, from generation to generation, ensuring that the cycle of life, birth, and death remained unbroken. Across the world, in the fertile lands of Mesopotamia, Inanna, the goddess of love and fertility, ruled over the heavens and earth. She was the protector of those who gave birth, the one who ensured that the land was fertile, the crops grew strong, and babies were born healthy. Women would gather in the moonlight, whispering her name as they prepared to bring new life into the world, trusting that Inanna's grace would watch over them. Every child born was a gift, not just from their mothers, but from the gods themselves. The importance of motherhood, childbirth, and fertility cannot be overstated in ancient cultures. These were the pillars upon which civilizations were built. Without birth, there could be no growth. Without fertility, there could be no future. And without the protection of a mother goddess, there was no guarantee that the delicate balance of life would be maintained. These deities were not distant figures sitting atop clouds, watching impassively from afar. They were present in the everyday lives of the people. They were in the hands of the midwife, the pulse of the land as it yielded its crops, and the hearts of women who gave birth and nurtured their children. In ancient Greece, Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, embodied the life-giving force of the earth. But she was also a mother, heartbroken when her daughter Persephone was taken to the underworld. The very seasons changed with Demeter's moods. When she mourned, the earth would grow cold and barren. But when she rejoiced, the earth bloomed with new life. She was a reminder that the cycle of life was fragile, that without the nurturing touch of the mother, the earth could not thrive. And in the colder lands of Scandinavia, where the harsh winters made survival a constant struggle, the goddess Frigg, with her nurturing heart, watched over the home and family. She was a protector, a mother who stood guard over her children, ensuring that life could carry on even through the darkest of times. Her role was as much about providing warmth and safety as it was about keeping the fires of life burning brightly, even in the face of adversity. The love these goddesses held for their children, whether biological or spiritual, was unyielding. And this love transcended mere human emotion. It was a cosmic force, a binding energy that tied the heavens to the earth and gave life meaning. It was a love that could bring life into existence, protect it, and nourish it. For the ancients, there was no greater power than the Divine Mother. She was the one who could give birth to worlds and heal the wounds of the soul. In the lands of the Celtic people, the goddess Brigid was worshipped as the protector of fertility and childbirth. She was also the goddess of healing, of the hearth, of poetry, and of motherhood itself. The people honored her with fire festivals, where they would light bonfires to mark the return of the light and the renewal of life. Her role as a mother figure was intertwined with the earth's natural rhythms, as spring gave way to summer, and life was renewed once more. These goddesses were not only protectors of the body, but of the spirit as well. They represented the balance between creation and destruction, life and death, the visible and the invisible. They were both the seed that was planted and the soil in which it grew. Their power was not just in the act of birth, but in the deep and complex layers of existence, the mystery of life itself, the strength found in vulnerability, and the quiet, unyielding power of motherhood. When a woman gave birth, she did not do so alone. She called on the goddess, whether in the whisper of a prayer or in the rituals performed before the birth. The goddess was always with her, guiding her through the pain, protecting her child, and blessing the new life that entered the world. Childbirth was a sacred act, a continuation of the eternal cycle that the goddess embodied. And with every new birth, the people knew that they were participating in something far greater than themselves, something that connected them to the divine. In every culture, the themes of fertility and motherhood were sacred. They were essential not only to the survival of the community but to its very soul. Without fertility, there could be no harvest; without motherhood, there could be no new generations to carry on the traditions of the ancestors. These goddesses ensured that life would continue, generation after generation. And in their stories, in their prayers, and in their rituals, the people found the strength to face the trials of life, knowing that the Divine Mother was always watching over them. At the dawn of time, before the first sunrise painted the sky in shades of gold, there was the Great Mother. She was not merely a figure of myth or legend, but a force of nature, the very breath of existence itself. She was the one who gave birth to the world, the land, the sea, and the sky. Her arms wrapped around creation like a loving embrace, nurturing all that lived. Her presence was everywhere, in the wind, in the soil, in the heartbeats of every living creature. She was the beginning and the end, the mother of all. Every culture has its own version of this great mother. A figure who stands at the heart of creation, whose love is as vast as the universe itself. Her story is woven into the fabric of every myth, every prayer, every whispered word of hope. She is the earth beneath our feet, the stars in the sky, the calm that settles over us when we close our eyes and rest. She is the one who creates, who nurtures, and who protects. Without her, life would cease to exist. In ancient Greece, Gaia was the earth itself, the first being to emerge from the void. She was not just a goddess, she was the embodiment of the world, the living, breathing foundation upon which everything stood. Her power was immense, her presence undeniable. From her body, the mountains rose, the ocean swelled, and the trees grew tall. She gave birth to the titans, the gods, the creatures that roamed the earth. She was the ultimate source of life, the creator of all things, and yet, she was also a mother who cradled her children with care. She was fierce in her protection of them, yet gentle in her nurturing. Gaia's love for her children was limitless, but so too was her wrath when that love was betrayed. Her son Uranus, the sky, had imprisoned their children in the depths of the earth, and Gaia, in her pain, crafted a weapon and sent her son Cronus to free them. The very earth trembled with her anger, the winds howled, and the seas surged. The power of the Great Mother was not just in her ability to give life, but in her unyielding strength to defend and protect it. And then there was Rhea, the mother of the gods. She too was a powerful figure, one who could not be swayed by the demands of the gods or the horrors of the world. Her love for her children was deep, and yet, it was tested in ways few could understand. Her husband, Cronus, feared that one of their children would rise against him, as he had risen against his father. To prevent this, he swallowed each child the moment they were born. But Rhea, heartbroken and desperate, would not let her children be destroyed. She tricked Cronus, hiding the youngest, Zeus, and giving him a stone wrapped in swaddling cloths to swallow instead. The Great Mother's devotion and ingenuity saved her son, and with Zeus' rise to power, the cycle of life continued. In Rhea's story, the themes of creation, nurturing, and protection were intertwined with sacrifice. She was a mother who endured great pain for the sake of her children. Her role as the Divine Mother was not easy, it was filled with challenges, betrayals, and sorrow. Yet, she stood strong, unyielding in her determination to protect the future of the world. Far to the east, in the ancient land of Phrygia, Kybele, the mother goddess, was worshipped with a devotion that bordered on the ecstatic. Kybele was often depicted with a crown of towers, symbolizing her power and her connection to the earth. She was a fierce protector of her children, embodying both the nurturing and the destructive aspects of motherhood. Her love could bring life, but it could also destroy anything that threatened her family. Her followers, the ecstatic priests known as the Gali, would chant her name in frenzied devotion, calling upon her power to heal, to protect, and to guide. Kybele's nature was one of duality. Her love was both tender and fierce, her protection both gentle and unrelenting. She, like Gaia and Rhea, understood the importance of balance. Life and death were part of the same cycle, and a mother's love could not be confined to softness alone. Sometimes, to protect her children, she had to unleash the fury of the earth itself. In Kybele's story, creation and destruction were inseparable, just as the earth itself creates new life through the death of old growth. These stories, and many more like them, tell us something essential about the maternal archetype. The Great Mother is not just a symbol of fertility or care, she is a reflection of the very forces of nature. She is creation itself, the earth that gives life, the sky that nurtures it, and the sea that sustains it. Her love is vast and all-encompassing, but it is also protective and sometimes fierce. To be a mother is not just to give life, but to stand between that life and all that might threaten it. The Great Mother is the force that ensures life continues, against all odds, and that it is guarded with an unyielding strength. In every culture, this archetype of the Great Mother is present, in one form or another. Whether as Gaia in Greece, Rhea, or Kybele, she embodies the primal force that shapes the world, the force that nurtures the seeds of creation and protects the fragile life that springs from them. These goddesses are not just divine mothers, they are the keepers of balance in the world. They give birth to life, but they also destroy what threatens it. They protect what is precious and ensure that the cycle of life continues. As we look at the myths of the Great Mother across cultures, we see that they are not just stories of divine women who gave birth. They are stories of strength, sacrifice, and protection. They remind us that motherhood is not a passive role, but an active, fierce force that shapes the world. The Great Mother is both gentle and strong, nurturing and protective. Her love is fierce, boundless, and eternal, like the earth itself. And in her arms, the world finds its balance, its strength, and its future. The scent of incense wafted through the air as women gathered in the sacred temples of ancient Mesopotamia. Their voices rose in prayer, not just for themselves, but for the earth that fed them, for the crops that grew from its soil, and for the children who would one day walk the same land. They knew the power of fertility was not just a blessing, but a force of nature, a force embodied by the great goddesses of their time. The fertility deities were their guardians, their lifeblood. Without them, nothing would grow, and life itself would wither away. Inanna, the goddess of love, fertility, and war, stood as the heart of this power. Her name was whispered in reverence across the land of Sumer, her presence felt in every blossoming flower and every newborn child. Inanna was both a goddess of abundance and a warrior. Her beauty could bring peace, yet her rage could lay waste to entire cities. She was unpredictable, her nature as wild as the storms that swept across the Mesopotamian plains. But to those who honored her, she was a beacon of hope. She was the force that brought the rains, that made the earth fertile, and that promised new life in every season. Her temples were filled with the sounds of worshippers, women whose hopes and dreams were tied to the cycles of nature. They believed that Inanna could bless them with the ability to conceive, to bear children, to watch their families grow. Her sacred rites were not only about invoking fertility but about honoring the power of love and sexuality, the very forces that bound the earth to the heavens. Inanna was not just the mother of life, she was its fierce protector, standing watch over the harvests, the families, and the future generations. Her story was one of transformation, from a goddess of the sky to a queen of the underworld, showing that even death had a role in the cycle of life. Her journey symbolized the seasonal cycles, growth, death, and rebirth, that all life must endure. Inanna's power over fertility was not just physical, it was spiritual. She held the keys to creation, to the very heart of existence. Her temple rituals were complex, filled with music, dance, and offerings. Women would come to her in times of need, seeking her favor for healthy children or fertile lands. They would offer precious gifts, their hopes hanging in the balance. And when the rains came and the crops grew tall, they knew it was Inanna's touch that had brought life once more to the earth. But Inanna was not the only goddess whose power shaped the world of fertility in Mesopotamia. In the land of Akkad, there was Ninhursag, the mother goddess of the earth and fertility. She was the embodiment of the land itself, fertile, nourishing, and full of life. Where Inanna's power was dynamic, fiery, and unpredictable, Ninhursag was steady and grounding. She was the quiet hum of the earth, the fertile soil that nurtured every seed, the mountains that stood strong and unwavering. Her presence was everywhere, in the rivers that nourished crops and in the very land that gave birth to life. Ninhursag was known as the Mother of all living things, a title that spoke to the profound influence she had on every form of life. It was said that she could bring new life into existence with a single word, and that she had the power to heal and protect her people. When famine struck, it was Ninhursag's blessing that the people sought. When crops failed, it was her prayers that brought the rains. She was the giver of life, the protector of growth. She was the embodiment of the earth's ability to nurture, to care for, and to protect. Her rituals were filled with reverence, grounded in the belief that the earth itself was sacred. Fertility rituals dedicated to Ninhursag often involved offerings of grain, fruits, and the firstborn of animals, all symbols of the earth's bounty. Women would gather around sacred trees and groves, the very places where the earth's fertility was believed to be most potent. With their hands placed upon the soil, they would pray to Ninhursag for the blessing of children, for the abundance of their crops, and for the prosperity of their families. Her power was the power of the earth itself, nurturing, ever-present, and endlessly giving. And then there was the power of Babylon, where the goddess Ishtar, often identified with Inanna, ruled over love, fertility, and war. In Ishtar, we see a blending of qualities, fierce and compassionate, nurturing yet destructive. Ishtar's influence was not just felt in the hearts of lovers and the fertility of the land but also in the very rhythm of warfare. Her fierce, untamed nature was reflected in the wars waged and the blood spilled for conquest, but her nurturing side was felt in the growing of crops and the birthing of life. She was the embodiment of the earth's paradox, it could both create and destroy. In Ishtar's name, rituals were held with great passion and intensity. Her worship was full of energy, music, and celebration. Sacred prostitution, a practice that was thought to invoke her divine favor, was a part of her worship, representing the sacred union of sexuality and fertility. These rites were meant to invoke her blessings, to ensure that life would continue in abundance, and that the earth's fertility would never fail. The very act of worship itself was seen as an expression of the earth's creative power, of life's cyclical and eternal nature. The rituals associated with fertility worship in Mesopotamia were as diverse and varied as the goddesses they revered. At the heart of these rituals was a deep, unwavering belief that the earth was alive, that it was a living, breathing entity that needed to be honored and nurtured. Fertility was not just about the physical act of reproduction, but about the very essence of life itself, its rhythms, its cycles, its deep connection to the earth. And the goddesses who watched over these cycles were as powerful and complex as the forces of nature they embodied. Whether through Inanna's wild beauty and strength, Ninhursag's quiet nurturing, or Ishtar's fierce energy, the fertility goddesses of Mesopotamia reminded the people of the profound power that lay within the earth. They were the protectors of life, the givers of abundance, the ones who ensured that the cycles of creation and destruction would continue, forever intertwined. Through their worship, the people found a way to honor the forces of nature that governed their lives, forces that were as unpredictable as they were life-giving. And in that honor, they found not just a connection to the earth, but to each other, bound together by the very power of life itself. In the warm embrace of the Nile River, beneath the vast, endless sky of ancient Egypt, mothers whispered prayers of protection and hope as they cradled their newborns. Their faith was deep, their hearts filled with gratitude, for they knew the power of the gods. Their children, their families, their homes, all of them were shielded by the hands of divine forces. And at the heart of these forces were the goddesses of motherhood and fertility, the ones who stood as guardians over the sacred bond between mother and child, life and death. Among them was Isis, the goddess of motherhood and protector of children. In the hearts of the people, Isis was the very embodiment of love and protection. She was not just a goddess to be revered, but a mother who cared deeply for her children, watching over them with tenderness and fierce devotion. The image of Isis as a mother, holding her child Horus in her arms, was more than a simple picture, it was a symbol of the eternal bond between mother and child, of the sacrifices a mother makes, and of the strength she draws from her love. To the Egyptians, Isis was the nurturing figure who protected not only children, but families as a whole. Her love was all-encompassing, a love that transcended time and space. Isis's role was essential in Egyptian society. It was she who helped guide the mothers through the perilous journey of childbirth, a journey filled with both fear and hope. The Egyptians understood that childbirth was sacred, and with it came both joy and the potential for loss. A woman's strength to bring new life into the world was not taken lightly, and the gods were called upon for protection. Isis, the great protector, was invoked in times of birth, when the mother's body was vulnerable and the child was new to the world. She was the one who stood guard, ensuring a safe delivery, the one who soothed the hearts of anxious mothers, whispering her promises of protection. But Isis was not just the goddess of protection, she was also the goddess of wisdom, healing, and magic. She had the power to heal the sick, to restore life where death had once reigned, and to offer her divine help in times of crisis. Her knowledge was vast, and she passed it down to those who called upon her. In times of illness, in moments of uncertainty, it was Isis's name that mothers would whisper as they prayed for their children's health and safety. She was the ultimate healer, a goddess whose love and care extended far beyond the realm of the physical. She embodied the strength and resilience of motherhood itself. Then there was Hathor, another goddess who held a sacred place in the hearts of Egyptian mothers. Hathor, with her gentle smile and her nurturing nature, was known as the goddess of love, music, and fertility. But it was her role as the protector of mothers and children that made her beloved to the people. Hathor's gentle spirit was a comfort to all who sought her aid, and it was said that she could ease the pains of childbirth with a simple touch. She was the goddess who watched over women as they navigated the trials of motherhood, offering them both physical and emotional support. She was the one who soothed their fears and calmed their hearts, her presence a reminder that motherhood was not just about the struggles, but also about the joy of nurturing life. Hathor's influence extended beyond the home and into the sacred temples, where her rituals were performed with deep reverence. Her festivals were filled with music, dance, and feasting, for Hathor was also the goddess of joy. The Egyptians believed that life itself was a divine gift, and that every moment of happiness, every moment of laughter, was a blessing from the gods. Hathor's presence in these moments was a reminder that fertility was not just about the physical act of creation, but about the joy that came with it, the joy of bringing life into the world, the joy of raising children, and the joy of being part of something greater than oneself. In Egyptian culture, family was the foundation of society. It was the most sacred of all relationships, and the goddess figures like Isis and Hathor were believed to be the guiding forces that protected and nurtured these bonds. The Egyptians understood the importance of family, of the interconnectedness between parents, children, and the divine forces that governed their lives. Childbirth was a sacred rite, not just because it brought new life into the world, but because it reaffirmed the connection between the human realm and the divine. The gods and goddesses were there, in the moment of birth, watching over the family as they welcomed a new soul into their midst. The significance of motherhood in Egyptian culture cannot be overstated. It was the very heart of the family structure, the force that kept the world turning. Mothers were revered as the givers of life, the ones who shaped the future through their love and care. They were not just the caregivers of the home, but the protectors of the world itself, for the family was the cornerstone of society. And the goddesses who protected them, like Isis and Hathor, were more than just divine figures, they were the embodiment of the sacred bond between mother and child, a bond that transcended time and space. The rituals surrounding fertility and childbirth were not just acts of devotion, but acts of hope. Hope that every child would be born healthy, that every mother would be protected, and that every family would thrive. In a world where death was ever present, the act of bringing new life into the world was an act of defiance, a statement that life would continue, no matter the hardships or the challenges. The Egyptian goddesses understood this, and their love and protection were the forces that gave mothers the strength to face the trials of childbirth and motherhood. Through their devotion to Isis and Hathor, the people of Egypt honored the sacredness of motherhood, acknowledging the power and the responsibility that came with it. These goddesses were not just divine figures, they were the eternal symbols of love, protection, and the life-giving force that resides within every mother. They were the nurturing arms that held the world together, and their presence was a constant reminder of the miracles of life, of the love that transcends all, and of the strength that every mother carries within her heart. In the quiet ruins of the Indus Valley, where the winds now whisper across ancient city streets, there lies a secret, one that echoes through the dust and stones of a civilization long gone. Beneath the surface of forgotten cities, in the silent remains of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, there are clues, delicate and haunting, that speak of a deep reverence for life itself, for the power that brings it into being. In this long-lost world, the sacredness of motherhood was not just a passing thought but woven into the very fabric of their existence, preserved in the form of figurines, small, delicate, yet profoundly powerful. The priestess figurines, as some scholars have called them, are small clay statues that have been unearthed from the ruins of the Indus Valley. With their rounded bodies, exaggerated breasts, and serene faces, these figures are a mystery, and yet, they are also a key to understanding the spiritual life of one of the oldest known civilizations. Some scholars suggest these figurines represent fertility goddesses, holding the power to bless the earth with abundance and bring new life into the world. Others see them as priestesses or priest-kings, leaders who guided their people in sacred rites. But what if they are something more, a reflection of the deep, sacred bond between women and the earth, the divine power of motherhood manifest? The figurines show a figure, often depicted with hands placed over her chest, her posture solemn yet calm, as if she is embracing the very essence of life. Her large breasts may represent the life-giving power of the mother, symbolizing fertility, nourishment, and protection. The women of the Indus Valley would have seen these figures and understood their significance, a divine mother who nurtures, sustains, and guides. The figurines are not just representations of physical fertility but also reflections of the spiritual and emotional power that mothers hold. As the people of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro lived their lives along the fertile banks of the Indus River, they depended on the rhythms of nature to survive. The river that brought them water for crops, the land that gave birth to their food, the seasons that shaped their existence, all of these cycles were mirrored in the fertility and cycles of motherhood. Life itself depended on these cycles, and so it is no surprise that the women who gave birth, who nurtured their children, were honored with divine imagery. These figurines could have been more than religious symbols, they could have been offerings, prayers, or talismans, used to ensure a good harvest, a healthy family, or the safe birth of a child. But there is a quiet sorrow that hangs over these discoveries, too. What do we lose when we try to interpret these sacred artifacts through the lens of modern eyes, when we forget the sacredness that the people of the Indus Valley saw in them? What was it that they hoped for as they created these figures, as they held them close, passed them down, or placed them in the earth itself as a silent prayer? There is a tenderness to these figures, an almost maternal love that speaks through the centuries. They are not just artifacts, they are symbols of hope, of faith, and of the deep trust in the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. In the ancient cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, the mother goddess could have been seen not just as a deity in the sky but as an ever-present, grounded force, the life-giver who walked alongside every woman, every mother, every child. The figures, with their wide hips and maternal forms, could have been seen as embodiments of the earth herself, rich with possibility, carrying the seeds of the future within her. These figures may have symbolized the hope of fertility, but they also represented protection, a divine shield around the mothers and children who held the future of the Indus Valley in their hands. The rituals of the people in this ancient civilization would have been deeply connected to the cycles of life. Fertility wasn't just about the physical act of giving birth, it was about sustaining life in all its forms, nourishing the earth, the children, and the families that depended on it. The people of the Indus Valley, so in tune with the land, would have known that motherhood was a force not just of creation, but of preservation. To nurture a child was to ensure the continuation of life itself, to carry the weight of the future within your arms. The connection between motherhood and fertility wasn't just about the moment of birth. It was about what came after, the nurturing, the care, the lessons passed down from mother to child, from generation to generation. The figurines, tender and silent, were not just symbols of the fertility of the earth, but of the generations that would follow. They were symbols of continuity, of a bond that never breaks. And yet, in these ancient cities, the people lived with an understanding of mortality. They knew the fragility of life, the uncertainty of the future. Perhaps the figurines were not just for celebrating birth, but also for guiding the souls of the departed. The people of the Indus Valley may have seen them as guardians, not just of the living, but of the souls of their ancestors, connecting the past to the future, the mortal to the divine. What a powerful image this must have been, the goddess as both a protector and a guide, a force that could heal and restore, but also one who helped the dead pass safely into the afterlife, with the same love and care that she had shown in life. As these figurines sit quietly in museums today, they hold secrets we may never fully understand. They are not simply pieces of ancient clay. They are echoes of a time long past, but they still speak to the hearts of those who look upon them. In their curves and forms, in the soft, protective gestures of the figurines, we are reminded of the timeless power of motherhood, the love that transcends time and space, the bond that connects us to the earth, to the divine, and to each other. The people of the Indus Valley may have left no written words behind, but in their figurines, they have left a message for us all, that motherhood is sacred, that life itself is sacred, and that the divine lives within each of us, passing from one generation to the next, always with the promise of new beginnings. In the quiet of an ancient temple, where the air is thick with incense and the distant sound of chanting fills the space, a mother-to-be kneels, her hands folded in prayer. Her heart beats fast with anticipation, with hope, and with fear. She is not alone. The divine presence of the goddess stands beside her, a silent protector, a guide through the sacred and mysterious journey of motherhood. The goddess's name is Parvati, and she is the embodiment of fertility, love, and devotion. Her gentle smile, her serene eyes, offer reassurance to the mother as she faces the most life-altering experience a woman can undergo, the birth of a child. Parvati, the beloved wife of Shiva, is much more than a goddess of love. She is the ultimate symbol of fertility and motherhood in Hindu tradition, a figure who balances both the tenderness and the fierce strength needed to bring life into the world. Her nurturing qualities are woven into the very fabric of her existence, her love is boundless, and her devotion to her family unwavering. It is said that she is the one who grants fertility to those who seek her, the one who blesses a couple with children, and the one who protects the unborn, ensuring their safe passage into the world. In her, motherhood is sacred, an act of divine power that connects all life. But Parvati is not alone in her role as a mother goddess. Her many forms in Hinduism embody different aspects of maternal energy, of the fierce love that can protect, and the soft tenderness that nurtures. Durga, one of her more powerful avatars, is the goddess who fiercely defends her children and her devotees from evil. She is a warrior, a goddess who commands respect, yet at the same time, she is a mother who would do anything to protect her family. Durga is often depicted riding a lion, with weapons in each of her many hands, yet her face remains calm and poised. To the people of ancient India, she represented the strength that a mother must find within herself to face the trials of life. She embodies both the nurturing and the warrior spirit, reminding every mother that within her is the power to protect, to fight for what she loves, and to fiercely defend her children. Lakshmi, another form of the divine feminine, is also deeply connected to the maternal aspects of Hinduism. Though she is often worshipped as the goddess of wealth, prosperity, and fortune, she also holds a deep connection to fertility in childbirth. In Lakshmi's embrace, life is abundant, not just in material wealth but in the nurturing of families and communities. Her blessings are those of prosperity, of growth, and of love. She provides the abundance that every home, every mother, every family desires. The very earth is fertile under her gaze, and in her presence, a mother feels the weight of her responsibilities but also the joy of fulfilling them. Lakshmi is a reminder that motherhood is a gift, one that is abundant and filled with potential, much like the blessings she bestows. These goddesses are not distant, unfeeling figures in the sky. They are deeply intertwined with the lives of the people who worship them. The ancient texts, like the Vedas, speak not only of the rituals surrounding these goddesses but also of the deep spiritual significance that pregnancy and childbirth held in ancient Indian culture. Pregnancy was considered a sacred state, a moment when the divine spirit was closely tied to the woman carrying life within her. During pregnancy, a mother was regarded as a living vessel of the goddess, someone who was in direct connection with the divine. And so, in reverence, rituals were performed, prayers were said, offerings made, and blessings given. These rituals were a way to honor the goddess and ensure a safe and smooth pregnancy, but they were also a means of ensuring that the child growing within was blessed with good fortune, health, and a prosperous life. The Vedas, the sacred texts of ancient India, carry within them deep wisdom about the divine role of mothers. They speak of the importance of fertility, not only in the physical sense but in the spiritual sense as well. The act of bringing life into the world was considered an offering to the gods, an act that brought balance and harmony to the world. A mother's role was one of both creation and caretaking, and the rituals surrounding pregnancy were seen as a way to invite divine protection into the womb. These rituals would vary, some included fasting, others included chanting, and some included offerings of food, flowers, and milk. The goal was always the same: to honor the goddess, to invoke her protection, and to ensure the health of both mother and child. In a world where life could be fragile, where the unpredictability of nature could bring both joy and suffering, the worship of fertility goddesses like Parvati, Durga, and Lakshmi provided a sense of security, a belief that the divine was watching over each mother as she gave birth. For these mothers, their connection to the goddess wasn't just spiritual, it was intensely personal. Each prayer was a plea for the safety of their unborn child. Each offering was an act of love, a way to show gratitude for the blessings of motherhood. Pregnancy and childbirth in ancient India were seen not just as natural events, but as sacred moments where the divine entered the human world. The woman carrying a child was seen as embodying the goddess herself, holding within her the sacred power of creation. This wasn't just about the physical act of birth, it was about a woman's ability to bring life into the world with love, devotion, and care. The goddess, in all her forms, was there beside her every step of the way, ensuring that the sacred act of motherhood was honored, that the child's first breath would be taken in the presence of the divine. As the mother in the temple offers her prayer, the goddess watches, her heart filled with love. Parvati, Durga, and Lakshmi are not just distant figures, they are present in every moment, in every prayer, in every ritual. They are the divine mothers, the protectors, the nurturers, and the warriors. They stand as reminders that the love a mother gives is sacred, that the act of childbirth is divine, and that in the arms of the goddess, every mother and child is safe, blessed, and eternally loved. The earth, barren and cold, trembled as a new life was on the brink of entering the world. The winds of change whispered through the trees, and the smell of fresh earth filled the air. Somewhere far away, a woman lay in labor, her body caught between the pain of creation and the promise of new beginnings. It was then that the goddess Demeter would be invoked, the goddess of the harvest, the mother of the earth herself. Her name meant life, growth, and rebirth, a constant reminder that the world was ever-changing, ever-growing, ever-nourishing. In ancient Greece, fertility wasn't just a blessing, it was a vital force that sustained the very fabric of society. The goddesses of fertility and childbirth stood at the heart of this world, revered not only for the abundance they brought but for the sacredness of the life they protected. Among them was Demeter, the embodiment of the earth's fertility. As she watched over the harvests that nourished the people, she was more than just a symbol of crops and grain, she was the mother who gave life to everything. Demeter's power was not only in the soil but in every seed of life that sprouted. Her love for the earth and its children was fierce and boundless, and in times of drought or famine, it was her sorrow that echoed across the land. When her daughter Persephone was taken from her, Demeter's grief brought winter to the world. But in her joy, spring would always return, just as the birth of a child brings the promise of renewal, of fresh beginnings. But Demeter was not the only goddess who held the lives of mothers and children in her hands. Hera, too, stood as a protector of marriage and childbirth, an unwavering force who watched over the sacred bond of family. Though often seen as the goddess of marriage and the protector of women in relationships, Hera's role was much more profound. She understood the pain and the beauty of childbirth, having herself given birth to gods and mortals alike. Hera was not only the queen of the gods but the queen of every woman who gave life. She was there when a mother held her newborn in trembling hands, when the cries of a child filled the air for the first time. Her divine presence was woven into the very essence of family life, a reminder that the bond between mother and child was not just sacred, it was eternal. Even in the trials of marriage, in moments of jealousy and strife, Hera remained steadfast in her protection of mothers and children, guarding the sacred cycle of life and the fragile connection between mother and child. Yet, there was another goddess who stood apart, and her power was deeply focused on the moment of childbirth itself, Eileithyia. In the dark hours of labor, when the pain of bringing life into the world felt unbearable, Eileithyia's name was whispered for strength. She was the goddess who presided over childbirth, and with her presence came the promise of safe passage. For a mother in labor, there was no greater hope than knowing that Eileithyia was near, guiding the child into the world. She was the unseen hand that helped ease the pain, the quiet voice that whispered encouragement, and the steady force that ensured the new life would be born into the world. Eileithyia's role was sacred, and her presence at childbirth was considered a blessing. For centuries, her name was spoken in prayer, and her image was revered by those who sought the protection and comfort of the goddess during the trials of labor. The people of ancient Greece understood that motherhood was not just a role but a sacred duty, and so, they invoked the maternal goddesses to watch over the most sacred of life's milestones. These goddesses were not distant, cold deities, they were figures that understood the intricacies of life's cycles, birth, growth, death, and rebirth. They embodied the power of creation, not just in the form of physical fertility, but in the emotional and spiritual bonds between mother and child. The maternal deities of Greece were a part of every birth, every family, and every woman's life. In the quiet moments before the birth of a child, when the world outside seemed to hold its breath, these goddesses were invoked to offer their strength. When a woman first held her baby in her arms, the quiet power of Demeter, Hera, and Eileithyia filled her heart. The earth, the sky, and the heavens themselves conspired to bring new life into the world, and the mother, though tired and broken by the struggle, was filled with a sense of awe and wonder. The world had changed, and in her arms was the beginning of something new, something filled with infinite potential. The worship of these fertility goddesses was not a practice rooted in mere superstition or ritual. It was an acknowledgement of the profound power that women held in the creation of life, a recognition of the sacredness of the bond between mother and child, and a celebration of the strength and endurance that it took to bring life into the world. Each prayer, each offering to these goddesses was an acknowledgement of this power, a plea for protection, for love, for the safe birth of a child. In the temples of ancient Greece, where offerings of fruit, honey, and flowers were made, the names of these goddesses were spoken in reverence. The world of men and women was intertwined with the divine, and the act of childbirth was never seen as a mere biological function. It was a divine event, a moment when the gods themselves took part in the most human of experiences. To call upon Demeter, Hera, or Eileithyia was to acknowledge that childbirth was not just a physical struggle, but a spiritual one. It was a moment when life itself was created, and the divine entered the world through the body of a woman. As the seasons turned, and as new children were born into the world, the power of these goddesses remained ever present, guiding each generation, watching over every family, and blessing every mother who experienced the sacred act of creation. Demeter, with her love for the earth, reminded each mother that she was a part of something greater, something eternal. Hera, with her devotion to marriage and childbirth, protected the most fragile of bonds. Eileithyia, with her gentle hand, ensured that every child had the chance to live, to grow, and to thrive. In the stories of ancient Greece, these goddesses were much more than figures of myth. They were the heartbeat of the human experience, the divine force that made motherhood sacred, and the ever-present protectors of new life. Through their strength, their love, and their devotion, the cycle of birth, life, and death continued, forever watched over by the maternal goddesses of fertility in childbirth. Under the glow of a setting sun, the city of Rome thrived, bustling with energy, and yet there were quiet moments, when mothers, with tender hands, cradled their children close, whispering soft words of love. Their devotion to their families was woven into the very fabric of Roman life. In these moments of motherhood, the city itself seemed to pause, honoring the sacred work that was being done. As much as Rome was a symbol of power, strength, and conquest, it was also built on something equally profound, the quiet, unspoken power of motherhood, which was upheld by the divine presence of goddesses like Juno and Ceres. Juno, the queen of the Roman gods, was more than just a wife to Jupiter. She was a protector, a fierce guardian of women, marriage, and childbirth. In the heart of Rome, she was revered not only as the wife of the king of gods but as a powerful, maternal figure who kept a watchful eye over the lives of women. When a woman found herself expecting, it was to Juno that prayers were sent, seeking her blessing for a smooth pregnancy and a safe delivery. She was seen as the ultimate protector of women in the most vulnerable of times. Juno's fierce devotion to family mirrored the fierce love that mothers have for their children. In her presence, there was comfort, knowing that no harm would come to her child. To the Romans, Juno was a figure who stood for the strength that every mother must call upon, the power of protection that flows from a mother's heart. Her protection wasn't just spiritual, it was practical, grounded in the daily lives of the people. A Roman woman might light a candle in her honor, praying for her children's health or seeking her aid to ensure the birth of a strong and healthy child. In the days leading up to childbirth, when fear and uncertainty gripped the hearts of many, Juno's name was spoken with reverence, a reminder that her care extended to every woman who was about to bring life into the world. Juno's role went beyond motherhood into the very heart of Roman family life. Marriage was sacred in the eyes of the Romans, and Juno was there to ensure that the bonds of love and loyalty between husband and wife were protected. To the Romans, a strong marriage was not only the foundation of family but also of society itself. Juno was more than a goddess of fertility, she was a symbol of commitment, strength, and the quiet power that a mother held in her hands, shaping the future of her children and the empire itself. But alongside Juno, there was another goddess whose influence was just as profound, Ceres, the goddess of agriculture, fertility, and motherhood. The very earth, fertile and full of promise, was her domain. Ceres was not simply the goddess of crops and grain, she was the goddess of nourishment, of the food that kept families fed and strong. Her love for the earth mirrored the nurturing love of a mother. In her embrace, crops grew, animals flourished, and families were provided for. In every loaf of bread, in every seed sown in the earth, Ceres' blessings were felt. A mother who saw her children well-fed and healthy could feel Ceres' presence in the abundance she provided. Ceres' relationship with motherhood went beyond the physical act of birth, she represented the ongoing care and nourishment that mothers provide throughout a child's life. To Romans, motherhood was not just about bringing life into the world, it was about tending, nurturing, and watching a child grow into something strong, something that could stand on its own in the world. Ceres embodied that nurturing love, which could transform something small and fragile into something enduring and powerful. In her, mothers saw not only the power to give life but the responsibility to nurture it and to ensure it thrived. Her influence wasn't limited to the home. In a society like Rome's, which was built on agriculture and trade, Ceres was a figure of immense importance. The fertility of the land directly impacted the prosperity of the people. The health of crops meant the health of families, and it was to Ceres that Romans turned in times of hunger or drought. Yet, even in times of plenty, Ceres' role remained central to the Roman way of life. The fertility of the land, the nourishment of the family, and the strength of the community were inseparable from the divine presence of this maternal goddess. As mothers to their children, Ceres and Juno carried the weight of responsibility with grace. But in Rome, motherhood was not simply a private affair, it was political as well. A mother's role in Roman society extended far beyond the home, it was tied directly to the strength and future of the state. The Romans believed that strong mothers would give birth to strong children, and strong children would become the warriors, the statesmen, and the leaders of tomorrow. The empire itself was built on the foundation of motherhood and family. Every mother who gave birth to a son or daughter was contributing to the stability of the empire. Their work was not just sacred, it was essential. Without strong families, there could be no strong Rome. The political role of motherhood in Rome was acknowledged with reverence. Women were praised for their ability to bear children, especially sons, who would go on to serve as soldiers and statesmen. The power of a mother was seen in the way she shaped her children, teaching them the values of duty, honor, and service to the state. Roman mothers were often seen as the first teachers of their children, instilling in them a sense of responsibility not just to their family but to the empire. This deep connection between motherhood and the strength of the state was reflected in the worship of goddesses like Juno and Ceres, whose divine protection and guidance helped mold every Roman citizen. In the heart of Rome, Juno and Ceres stood as powerful reminders of the sacredness of motherhood and the political weight carried by mothers. They were not just symbols of fertility and childbirth but of the strength, love, and devotion that every mother poured into her children. Their influence was felt not only in the quiet moments of family life but in the very foundations of Roman society. These goddesses were more than divine figures, they were the living embodiment of everything that was sacred in Roman life: family, fertility, and the protection of the future. They taught that motherhood was not a passive role, it was an active, vital force that held the power to shape both the future of a family and the future of a nation. The wind whispers through the trees, carrying the faint scent of earth and moss, the soft rustling of leaves dancing to a rhythm only nature knows. It's in these quiet moments, in the hush of the woods, that the Celtic heart beats strong, echoing the pulse of life itself. In ancient times, when the world was both wild and sacred, the Celtic people looked to their gods and goddesses for guidance, especially in matters of birth and motherhood. They understood the cycle of life not as something separate from themselves, but as something they were deeply connected to, a cycle that was both divine and personal, ever present in every breath, every heartbeat. Brigid, the beloved goddess of fertility, healing, and craftsmanship, was at the center of this understanding. With every season that turned, she was there, her spirit alive in the soil of the earth, the warmth of the hearth, and the skillful hands of the artisan. To the Celts, Brigid was more than a goddess. She was a protector, a mother, and a guide, seen in the way the earth gave birth to its bounty, and the way mothers nurtured their children through the seasons of their lives. Her realm was both the physical and the spiritual. She was the flame that warmed the hearth and the hands that worked tirelessly to create, heal, and bring life into the world. Her name was spoken with reverence, as women, in particular, called upon her during pregnancy, childbirth, and in the moments of quiet reflection that came after. To the Celts, the power of birth wasn't just about the physical act, it was about the essence of creation itself. Brigid's role in fertility was not merely about giving life but about nurturing it, healing it, and protecting it as it grew. She embodied the strength and beauty of motherhood, and in her, there was the promise of renewal, both for the individual and for the land. She was the breath of life that connected all things, the creator, the nurturer, and the healer. Her wisdom was known in the warmth of the hearth and in the quiet strength of a mother tending to her child. But Brigid's influence was not limited to the realm of fertility alone. The Celts saw her as a goddess who presided over all life's creative processes, whether in the home, the craft, or the body. She was as much a goddess of the forge as she was a goddess of the womb. The hands that shaped iron into tools also shaped a child's future. Brigid was both creator and protector, her domain stretching from the physical world into the spiritual. She represented the nurturing force that was at the heart of the Celtic understanding of life. And in her warmth, there was healing, not just for the body, but for the spirit as well. Women in labor, mothers in need of strength, those who sought healing, all turned to Brigid, trusting that her power would sustain them through the trials and tribulations of life. Yet Brigid was but one face of the many aspects of Celtic fertility and motherhood. There was also the sacred, triune form of the triple goddess, maiden, mother, and crone, a powerful symbol of the cyclical nature of life. The Celts recognized that life, like the seasons, had its stages: youth, adulthood, and old age. These stages weren't seen as separate or disconnected but as parts of an ever-turning wheel. The maiden, the bright spark of youth and new beginnings, was as important as the mother, the nurturer, the one who brought life and protected it. And the crone, with her deep wisdom and experience, was as vital as the young and the middle-aged. Each phase of life was interconnected, each one contributing to the whole. The triple goddess represented not just the stages of a woman's life but the cycle of life itself, the birth, death, and rebirth that was constant, unbroken, and sacred. This cycle was reflected in the land, in the seasons, and in the very hearts of those who lived on it. It was in the maiden's first breath of life, in the mother's ability to carry and care for that life, and in the crone's knowledge of life's full circle, that the strength of the goddess was felt. Every woman, regardless of age, carried within her the power of these three faces: the maiden who had yet to be born anew, the mother who gave birth and nurtured, and the crone, whose wisdom was earned through years of experience. To the Celts, the cycles of life were sacred, and the rituals surrounding them were equally profound. Birth, in particular, was seen as a sacred act, one that required the blessings of the gods and goddesses to ensure that both the mother and the child were protected. The birth rituals of the ancient Celts were simple yet deeply spiritual. It was believed that the goddess Brigid had the power to protect the mother during labor, ensuring a safe and smooth birth. Women who were about to give birth might kneel at the hearth, offering prayers and lighting candles to Brigid, asking for her protection. As the baby arrived, the family would gather, and offerings would be made, thanking the goddess for her grace and support. In Celtic tradition, the rituals surrounding birth were not only about the individual mother and child but about the community itself. The entire tribe would honor the birth of a child, for each new life was seen as a gift to the earth and the people. Every birth was a blessing, a continuation of the cycle that kept the world alive. The mother, in her role, was seen not only as a giver of life but as a nurturer of the future. The community rallied around the new family, providing the support needed to ensure the child's survival and growth. In this, the triple goddess was felt in every part of the process: through the maiden's new life, the mother's strength, and the crone's wisdom. The cycle continued, uninterrupted, in a steady rhythm that echoed through every generation. The Celts understood that birth was more than a physical event. It was a sacred act that connected the living to the divine. Each new life that entered the world was seen as a continuation of the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Brigid, the triple goddess, and all the other fertility deities of the Celtic world were not just figures of mythology, they were deeply intertwined with the daily lives of the people. Their influence was felt in every season, in every harvest, and in every birth. And in the quiet moments of a mother holding her child, in the warmth of the hearth where healing took place, the ancient Celts found a deep and abiding connection to the divine, a connection that would echo through time and space, forever carrying the heartbeat of life itself. The air is thick with the scent of pine and the crisp chill of the north as the storm clouds gather on the horizon, The earth, raw and untamed, seems to pulse with a power older than the mountains themselves. In the midst of this harsh, wild landscape, where every gust of wind howls like a call to the gods, the people find their strength not just in their warriors, but in the nurturing hands of the goddesses who watch over them. In the far north, amidst the roaring fjords and endless nights, the Norse goddesses of birth and fertility held the power to shape not just the future of a family, but the very destiny of the people themselves. Frigg, the goddess of motherhood, ruled with a quiet but unyielding strength. She was the protector of the home and the family, the foundation upon which the Norse way of life was built. Her love for her children, her fierce protection of her family, spoke of a devotion that transcended the mortal realm. She was a mother in every sense of the word, her heart brimming with love and a power that could move mountains, her wisdom the guiding light in dark times. In Frigg's eyes, every child was precious, every birth a sacred event that could change the course of history. She was more than a protector of the hearth, she was the embodiment of the fierce, unbreakable bond between mother and child, the unwavering force that kept families together and ensured the continuation of life. But Frigg's maternal strength was not just about protection, it was about foresight, too. As a goddess with the gift of prophecy, Frigg saw the future in a way no one else could. She knew the challenges that lay ahead, but her love for her family made her unwavering. It was said that she was the heart of the home, and though her realm was often a quiet one compared to the wars fought by the gods of battle, her power was no less essential. She watched over the births of children, she guided women in their most vulnerable moments, and she ensured that the bonds of motherhood remained unbroken, even when the world outside was chaotic and dangerous. In her presence, one could almost feel the warmth of a mother's embrace, the way she soothed, nurtured, and protected. It was said that Frigg's wisdom could turn the tides of fate, but it was her love for the family that was her true strength. As the mother of Bald, the god of light and purity, she knew what it meant to love with everything she had, and the depth of that love carried with it a fierce, unrelenting power. But Frigg was not the only goddess of birth and fertility in the Norse pantheon. Freya, the beautiful and fiery goddess of love, fertility, and magic, also played a key role in the lives of mothers. Freya's connection to fertility was not just about the birth of children, it was about the creative force that flowed through all of life. She was a goddess who reveled in the power of desire and passion, the embodiment of the raw, untamed energy that brought life into the world. Freya was as much about the wildness of life as she was about its gentleness. She was both the tempest and the calm after the storm, a goddess who inspired not only love and lust but also the creation of life itself. Her beauty was said to be so powerful that it could captivate anyone, yet it was her deep connection to fertility and motherhood that truly made her a central figure in the Norse pantheon. It was believed that Freya watched over the births of children, especially those born from love and desire. She brought passion into the world, but also the nurturing love that ensured life continued. She was a goddess whose energy was both nurturing and fierce, the balance between creation and destruction that was so prevalent in Norse culture. Her very presence invoked both a sense of wonder and a deep, burning passion to live and love fully. Freya's connection to fertility extended beyond human life. It was said that she could bring fertility to the land itself, ensuring that crops flourished and animals thrived. In a culture that depended so deeply on the strength of the earth, Freya's role was sacred. She was not only a mother in the human sense, but a goddess who protected the cycle of life in all its forms. Her gifts of love and fertility stretched to every corner of the earth, breathing life into the soil and the people who depended on it. The role of these maternal goddesses in Viking culture was not just spiritual, it was deeply practical. In a society where survival was never guaranteed, the birth of a child was an act of defiance against the harshness of nature. Every child born was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, and the goddesses of birth and fertility watched over these fragile beginnings with the same fierce devotion as the warriors who fought on the front lines. The Norse people knew that life could be brutal and short, but they also understood that it was in the birth of a child that the future was made. In this way, the maternal goddesses were seen as the true protectors of the family, the keepers of hope and legacy. In Viking society, where honor was measured by battle and strength, it was easy to overlook the power of motherhood. But the Norse goddesses of fertility were never far from the hearts and minds of the people. Frigg and Freya were invoked in the moments before childbirth, when women needed strength and guidance. Their influence was felt not just in the safety of a home but in the very survival of the community. The health of a mother and her child was a matter of life and death, and it was to these goddesses that women turned in their times of need. The rituals surrounding birth and fertility in Norse culture were as fierce as the gods themselves. Women, in the moments of labor, would invoke the names of these goddesses, asking for protection and strength. The home was a sacred space, a place where the blessings of Frigg and Freya would come to rest, and where the promise of a new life was made. It was in these sacred moments that the connection between the divine and the human was most felt, when life was brought into the world, and the gods themselves walked among the people. Frigg and Freya, though different in their ways, were both essential to the Norse understanding of birth and fertility. One was the wise protector, the mother whose heart beat for her family, and the other was the passionate force of nature, whose love and fertility shaped the world. Together, they formed the perfect balance of creation, nurturing, and protection, ensuring that the cycle of life continued, even in the harshest of times. Their influence was as vast as the lands they ruled, an ever-present reminder that, in the world of the Norse, motherhood was not just a duty. It was a divine, sacred power. The sun beats down on the rich earth, the sound of drums echoing in the distance, and the air is thick with the weight of generations. In the heart of Africa, where the land pulses with life, the people have always known that the strength of their communities, their very survival, depends on the rhythms of birth and the nurturing hands of the divine. Here, the power of the mother is not just a human force, it is the heartbeat of the world. And it is in the hands of goddesses like Ashen and Mami Wada that this divine power flows, shaping the lives of all who seek their blessings. Ashen, the Yoruba goddess of love, fertility, and motherhood, stands at the center of this sacred force. With a beauty that shines as bright as the sun, Ashen is more than a deity, she is the embodiment of the very essence of life. Her name is whispered in reverence, her presence felt in every river, every stream, every heartbeat. As the goddess of the Ocean River, she is connected to the flow of water, the source of life itself. The river that bears her name is not just a body of water, it is a sacred lifeline, nurturing the land and its people, just as Ashen nurtures the souls of those who seek her aid. When a woman in the Yoruba culture yearns for a child, she calls upon Ashen, praying for the fertility and blessing of her womb. In Ashen's name, prayers are spoken with the hope of new life. Her love is said to be a force so strong that it can heal the body, bring forth children, and mend broken hearts. Ashen's connection to motherhood is not just about the birth of children, it is about the deep, nurturing love that sustains all life. She is the mother who holds her children close, who caresses them with kindness, but also with the strength to face any challenges life throws their way. Her followers believe that Ashen's love can heal the broken, mend the sorrowful, and bless those who are ready to receive her gifts. Women who pray to Ashen are often gifted with children after long years of waiting, and it is said that the goddess's grace can turn barren lands into fields of abundance, much like her nurturing touch can turn an empty womb into one filled with the promise of new life. Her magic lies in the balance she holds, between love, fertility, and the patience required to see life bloom. But Ashen's power isn't confined to the land of the Yoruba people alone. Across the vast expanse of Africa, in the deep, flowing waters that kiss the shores, Mami Wada rises. A goddess whose beauty is as mysterious as the oceans themselves, Mami Wada is the embodiment of the water, a spirit who flows like a river and lives in the depths of the sea. She is both a maternal protector and a powerful spirit of the African diaspora. Like the oceans that stretch from coast to coast, she carries with her the wisdom of countless cultures, a figure whose story transcends borders and echoes through the hearts of millions. Mami Wada is a goddess of fertility, love, and healing, but also of sensuality and strength. She is often depicted as a woman with the body of a serpent or a fish, her flowing hair and hypnotic gaze drawing in those who seek her guidance. To those who call upon her, she is not just a goddess of the water, she is a guide through the emotional currents of life, offering healing to the wounded and blessing those who seek her wisdom with the gift of motherhood. For many women in African cultures, Mami Wata is a nurturing mother, but also a fierce protector, guarding the sanctity of childbirth and the home. Her influence is vast, her waters are both gentle and strong, a reminder that motherhood is both tender and fierce. In the belief systems of African cultures, water is sacred. It is the source of all life. Mami Wata's watery realm symbolizes the deep connection between all living things. She is called upon for healing, for fertility, for protection. In the rituals surrounding pregnancy and childbirth, her name is invoked to ensure safe delivery and the protection of mother and child. She is seen as the one who watches over the waters that nourish and cleanse, a spiritual force that governs both the emotional and physical realms of motherhood. The importance of water in African fertility rituals cannot be overstated. Water is not only essential to life, it is believed to carry the essence of the divine feminine. Rivers, lakes, and oceans are sacred places where women, especially those who wish to conceive, go to pray, bathe, and offer sacrifices to Mami Wata. In her embrace, they seek the blessings of fertility, calling on the ancient powers that flow beneath the surface of the earth. And when a mother's labor begins, it is believed that Mami Wata's presence can guide the child into the world, ensuring a smooth and safe birth. To invoke Mami Wata is to invite the divine waters to cleanse, to heal, and to protect. The rituals surrounding Mami Wata are as diverse as the people who worship her. In some cultures, mothers and women seeking to conceive will offer flowers, fruits, or incense by the water's edge, calling upon the goddess for her blessing. The soft murmuring of the water serves as a reminder of her presence, her quiet strength. Other rituals involve singing songs and performing dances to honor Mami Wata, celebrating the gift of life and the power of the mother. In every wave, in every ripple, there is a sense of the divine, a sense that the goddess is watching, listening, and ready to guide. In both ocean and Mami Wata, the essence of motherhood is not just about giving birth, it is about the nurturing, protective love that holds life together. These goddesses embody the love and strength that women around the world carry with them, and the deep connection they share with the earth, the water, and all living things. In the face of struggle, in moments of heartache, they stand as symbols of hope, reminding the world that the power of motherhood is an unbreakable force. Their stories are woven into the very fabric of African culture, not just as deities to be worshipped, but as living symbols of the strength, resilience, and beauty of motherhood. Through ocean's river and Mami Wata's seas, the world is reminded that fertility and life are sacred gifts, given, protected, and cherished by the goddesses who watch over us. Their love is the heartbeat of the earth, the steady pulse that guides us through the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. The wind whispers softly through the bamboo groves, and the world holds its breath for a moment, as though waiting for something sacred to unfold. Beneath the serene, graceful skies of Asia, stories of compassion and protection rise like the sun, powerful yet gentle. In the hearts of the people, these stories are more than myths, they are lifelines, reminders of divine care in moments of struggle, of birth, and of motherhood. Among them, the goddesses and spirits who watch over birth and protect children are revered with a love and reverence that transcends time. They are the protectors, the nurturers, the ones who guard the precious cycle of life that in China, Kuan Yin stands as the epitome of compassion, a goddess whose name is spoken with reverence and awe. Often portrayed with a gentle smile and a calm, knowing gaze, she embodies the tender yet mighty force of maternal love. Known as the goddess of mercy, Kuan Yin is the protector of all who are in need, especially women in the throes of childbirth. Her compassion stretches across every corner of the earth, from the busy streets of bustling cities to the quiet, humble villages where mothers pray for safe deliveries. When a woman struggles with the pain of labor, Kuan Yin's name is called, whispered in the hope that her soothing presence will ease the suffering, that her divine touch will protect both mother and child. Her connection to fertility and childbirth is not just about granting a child, but about offering strength in times of fear, calm in times of chaos. Kuan Yin is known to hear the prayers of those who suffer, of those who face the unknown, and her compassion flows through the world like a steady stream of comfort. She is the mother who never turns away, the healer who never hesitates. To those in need, she is the promise that no one ever truly faces the challenges of life alone. She stands beside them, her presence as soft as the evening breeze, as unyielding as the mountains. The stories of Kuan Yin offer a glimpse into a world where compassion and motherhood are one, where a goddess not only brings forth life but guards it with her boundless love. She is the light at the end of the tunnel for women struggling with infertility, the whisper of hope when all seems lost. In the lives of those who worship her, Kuan Yin's spirit is seen in the gentle touch of a mother's hand, in the way a child's laughter can heal even the deepest wounds. She is both the promise of new life and the protector of the lives already here, watching over them as only a mother can. Across the seas, in Japan, there is another protector, one who guards children in a way that resonates deep within the hearts of those who hear his name. Jizo, the spirit revered in Japanese folklore, is often depicted as a small, gentle figure dressed in robes, a staff in hand, and a serene smile on his face. He is the guardian of children, a protector of souls, especially those of the unborn or those who pass too soon. Jizo is not only a protector of the living but also of the spirits of those who have yet to experience life's beauty, watching over them as they transition into the afterlife. Jizo's presence is most commonly felt in the quiet, peaceful moments. In Japanese culture, it is believed that children, especially those who have passed, are cared for by Jizo, who comforts their spirits and ensures their safe passage. For parents who mourn the loss of their child, Jizo offers peace, a quiet understanding that the soul is never lost. His image is often seen in stone statues, placed along roadsides or at the foot of trees, adorned with small offerings, gifts from grieving parents who seek solace. In moments of sorrow, when the heart feels as though it might shatter, Jizo's gentle smile reminds them that the love they have for their children never fades, it simply transforms. For mothers, Jizo is more than a deity, he is a protector, a confidant. His role as the guardian of children extends beyond death into life itself. He watches over newborns, guiding them through their earliest moments, ensuring that their delicate souls are cared for with tenderness and reverence. Jizo's connection to motherhood is felt not just in the tangible world, but also in the quiet corners of the heart, where worries about a child's safety and well-being reside. His spirit brings comfort, especially to those parents who face the harshest trials of raising children, whether they are struggling with illness, loss, or simply the overwhelming weight of responsibility. In Korea, the divine protection of children and birth takes on many forms, rooted in ancient beliefs and powerful spirits that watch over the most sacred moments of life. The Korean goddess of childbirth, known as Cheongchu, is revered for her protective qualities, ensuring that women give birth with ease and that their children thrive. Her influence in Korean culture is felt strongly through rituals surrounding childbirth, which are carried out with deep respect for the power of motherhood and the importance of safe delivery. In Korean tradition, when a woman is pregnant, offerings are made to Cheongchu, and prayers are spoken with the hope that the goddess will provide both strength and protection during childbirth. But the spirit of motherhood in Korea also extends beyond this goddess. The Jiwang, or guardian spirits, are believed to provide protection to mothers and their newborns, ensuring that no harm befalls them during the vulnerable early days of life. These spirits, sometimes depicted as maternal figures, are said to be the very essence of motherhood, nurturing, strong, and unyielding in their love. Their power can be felt in every carefully conducted ritual, every prayer offered with the belief that the goddess or spirit will keep both mother and child safe from harm. The act of giving birth is seen as a sacred moment, and the spirits that surround this process ensure that it is treated with the reverence it deserves. In every culture, whether in the mountains of Japan, the waters of China, or the lands of Korea, the bond between mother and child is revered as one of the most sacred forces in existence. The goddesses and spirits who govern fertility, childbirth, and the protection of children remind the people that they are never truly alone. They stand by, watching, protecting, guiding, and loving, offering the deepest comfort when the world feels too overwhelming. These divine mothers, in their many forms, teach the lesson that no matter the trials, the love of a mother, and the love of the divine mother, never wavers. It is eternal, constant, and always present, ready to envelop those who need it most. The earth beneath your feet feels alive, pulsing with energy, as though the land itself is breathing alongside you. In the stillness of a quiet morning, the warmth of the sun against your skin is a reminder that life thrives because of the deep connection to the land. For the indigenous cultures of the Americas, the earth is not just a place to live, it is a mother, a protector, a provider, and a sacred being deserving of the utmost respect. The goddesses of these cultures, representing motherhood and fertility, are not distant deities but forces woven into the fabric of everyday life, their presence felt in the heartbeat of the earth itself. Pachamama, the earth goddess of the Andes, holds the entire world in her embrace. She is not just a symbol but the living embodiment of the land that nourishes and sustains. Her energy flows through the mountains, the rivers, and the soil. To the people of the Andes, she is the mother who provides everything: food, shelter, and life itself. Her warmth gives life to the crops, her spirit protects the animals, and her wisdom guides the people who walk her lands. When a farmer plants his seeds, he does so with Pachamama's blessing, believing that she will watch over the growth of the crops, ensuring the cycle of life continues. There is no separation between the earth and its people, both are one, existing in a delicate balance. Pachamama is a mother whose love is unconditional. She is not just the source of fertility in the physical sense but also the spiritual nurturer of the people. When a child is born into the Andean world, it is not only the family that celebrates, but the land itself. The child is welcomed by Pachamama, who embraces them with the same care she offers the plants and animals. And when a life comes to an end, Pachamama holds the soul, nurturing it as it passes into the next world. The Andean people honor her in rituals that involve offerings of food, coca leaves, and even the blood of animals, all given in thanks for the bounty she provides. Her presence is woven into every prayer, every harvest, every breath the people take. In the great deserts and mountains of Mexico, another goddess, Coatlicue, stands as the fierce and protective mother of the Aztec people. She is the earth's fierce protector, a mother whose very essence is tied to creation and destruction. Her name means, she of the serpent skirt, symbolizing both the life-giving force and the power of death that is ever present in the cycle of life. Coatlicue's body is a tapestry of powerful symbols, her face one of both gentleness and fierce power. She is the mother who gives birth to life, but also the one who ensures that death, in its turn, comes when needed, returning life to the earth. Coatlicue's role as a mother goddess is tied deeply to the creation of life and the fertility of the earth. She is not a passive figure but one whose energy is in constant motion. Her power is rooted in the earth itself, as she gives life to the people, just as the earth gives life to the plants, the animals, and the very air they breathe. Her relationship with fertility goes beyond simply giving birth, it is about balance, understanding that death is just as important as life. In her gaze, you can see both the nurturing mother and the powerful figure who demands respect for the natural forces. To the Aztecs, motherhood was not a passive role, it was an active force, a relentless energy that could transform and shape the world. The rituals surrounding Coatlicue were not just about fertility, but about the understanding of the cycles of nature. Her worshippers knew that life could not exist without the destructive forces of the earth, without fire, without storms, without death. Coatlicue embodied this balance, teaching the people that life was a precious gift, but one that was earned through respect for the earth's power. In North America, across many Native American cultures, the belief in the sacredness of the earth and the power of motherhood are deeply interwoven. For these people, the earth itself is seen as a mother, and its fertility and abundance are gifts given freely to all. The Native American understanding of motherhood stretches beyond the family, encompassing the earth as the ultimate mother. The rituals surrounding fertility and motherhood are not just about the birth of children, but about the birth of all things in the world, crops, animals, relationships, and the earth itself. In the Lakota tradition, for example, the earth is revered as a sacred being, known as Wiyaya, meaning Earth Mother. She is the ultimate life giver, the one who nourishes all living things. The earth provides not just physical nourishment but also spiritual guidance. When a child is born, the first breath taken is believed to be a sacred moment, where the child's spirit becomes a part of the earth's soul. To these people, fertility is a sacred gift that is closely tied to respect for the earth, and any life-giving act must be carried out with reverence. The Native American understanding of motherhood also emphasizes the importance of nurturing not just one's children, but the entire world. The earth is seen as a mother who nurtures all of creation, and the role of the people is to honor and protect her as she does the same for them. This relationship is reciprocal. The fertility rituals of Native Americans involve giving back to the earth, whether through planting ceremonies, offerings, or dances that call upon the spirit of the land to continue its cycle of growth and renewal. Every gesture is a reminder that the earth's fertility is not something to be taken for granted, but something that must be earned through respect, gratitude, and care. In these cultures, motherhood is not just about the biological act of giving birth, it is about the sacred responsibility to care for, protect, and nurture all life. The goddesses of fertility, whether Pachamama in the Andes, Coatlicue in Mexico, or the Earth Mother in Native American belief, are embodiments of this sacred responsibility. They are not distant figures who simply bless motherhood, but living forces who guide, protect, and nurture their people. Their presence can be felt in every season, in every harvest, in every birth. Through them, the earth itself is a living, breathing mother, offering her fertility in love to those who honor her with respect. These goddesses are reminders that the bond between mother and child is sacred, but that the bond between all living things and the earth is just as powerful, just as essential. The air is thick with the rhythm of a woman's labor, the quiet breaths and gentle groans that echo through the darkened room. The hands of those around her guide her, their presence as much a comfort as the steady beat of her heart. At that moment, in the quiet, there is a presence that lingers, watching over, offering strength and solace. These are the unseen hands of the goddesses who walk with women through the trials of childbirth, forces of healing, of protection, of guidance. They are the mothers who shape us, the healers who ease our pain, the guardians who ensure the journey from life to life is sacred. Brigid, the goddess of healing, was born from the fire and the water, the two elements that would shape her role as a healer and a midwife. In Celtic tradition, she is known as a protector of women, an embodiment of the sacred art of midwifery. As the goddess of fertility, Brigid is as much a part of the process of childbirth as the woman herself. When a woman goes into labor, it is Brigid who steps forward, unseen but ever present, guiding the child into the world. She is the hand that steadies, the voice that whispers encouragement, the warm embrace that supports the mother as she brings new life into the world. But Brigid's healing power is not limited to the birth of children alone. She is the goddess of all healing, the one who nurtures both body and spirit. In the Celtic world, when a woman was pregnant, it was Brigid who would be called upon to ensure the health of both mother and child. She is the protector during the difficult, dangerous months of pregnancy, and the compassionate spirit who welcomes the baby into the world with tenderness and care. Her influence is felt in every aspect of a woman's journey to motherhood, whether it's through the gift of her healing touch or the power of her wisdom, which guides midwives and mothers alike. Brigid's name was often invoked at the first signs of labor, calling on her to ease the pain and facilitate a safe and healthy birth. Hecate, the Greek goddess of the crossroads, also holds a special place in the hearts of those who navigate the transformative journey of childbirth. She is not the typical goddess of fertility or motherhood, but rather one who stands as a guide in the shadows, lighting the way through the most difficult transitions. In Greek mythology, Hecate's role was to walk with women as they faced the unknown, especially when it came to childbirth. The pain and suffering that accompanies bringing a child into the world often feels like crossing a threshold into a new, mysterious realm. Hecate, with her lantern of light, would be there, holding the flame steady to ensure the path was not lost. For those in labor, Hecate's influence was seen as a comfort, a sign that the woman would not be alone in her trials. Her association with magic, witchcraft, and the moon gave her a unique power to understand the deep, primal nature of childbirth. Hecate helped to guide women through the darkness of their pain, ensuring they were not overwhelmed by the fear of the unknown. She held space for women in labor, providing spiritual strength to help them face the ordeal with courage. Her role as a midwife was one of protection and support, ensuring that the sacred act of bringing a child into the world was not just a physical experience but a spiritual one as well. There is something about the bond between women and the act of childbirth that transcends the physical. It is in these sacred moments that the spiritual and the physical align, where healing, pain, and joy come together in one unforgettable experience. The goddesses of healing and childbirth, like Bridget and Hecate, represent more than just assistance in the physical process. They offer spiritual protection, guidance, and understanding. They understand that childbirth is not just a biological event, but a rite of passage that transforms a woman, reshaping her into something more, something greater. In their hands, women are held with love, and the painful transition of labor becomes not just an ordeal but a sacred act. Bridget's healing touch is said to reach beyond the physical realm. She is also the goddess of inspiration and creativity, her presence a soothing balm for the emotional and mental strains of labor. She is a goddess who sees the woman as a whole, understanding that the transition into motherhood is a journey that requires more than just physical endurance. As a midwife and healer, Bridget offers her wisdom to the women in her care, ensuring they feel empowered, supported, and understood during the vulnerable process of childbirth. Whether through herbs or simple words of encouragement, Bridget's influence provides a sense of peace, a calming presence that allows the woman to surrender to the process, trusting in her body and in the goddess who walks beside her. Hecate, too, offers something beyond mere physical comfort. Her role in childbirth is deeply spiritual. Women would often seek Hecate's protection when the labor grew too overwhelming, when doubt and fear clouded their hearts. Hecate's ability to guide the soul through dark moments made her an invaluable presence in the birthing room. She understood that childbirth, though a beautiful miracle, could also be an experience fraught with fear and uncertainty. Her lantern was more than just a symbol, it was a source of light in the darkest of times, a reminder that the journey was temporary, and that the light of the new life was waiting on the other side. The spiritual connection between healing and childbirth is one that echoes throughout the ages. In many cultures, goddesses of healing and midwifery were seen as the spiritual guardians of women during labor. These goddesses understood the delicate balance between life and death, the fragility of the human body, and the resilience of the human spirit. They embodied the deep understanding that childbirth was both a physical and a spiritual act, requiring the woman to not only give of her body but also of her soul. Through them, the process of childbirth was seen as a sacred journey, one where the woman, with the support of the goddess, transcended the pain to bring new life into the world. In every moment of labor, from the first contractions to the final push, the healing energy of the goddesses surrounds the mother, guiding her through the storm of pain and uncertainty. They are the hands that steady, the voices that comfort, and the presence that strengthens. Whether it's Bridget's nurturing warmth or Hecate's guiding light, these goddesses are more than just figures of myth, they are real, present, and powerful in every birth, in every healing moment. Their influence continues to remind us that the act of birth is not just the beginning of a child's life but the deep, spiritual connection between mother, child, and the divine. As the first rays of dawn filter through the trees, a soft hum fills the air, a chant, a prayer, an offering. The midwife stands beside the woman, her hands steady, her eyes calm. Around her, the space is filled with the presence of something sacred, something ancient. A goddess. The goddess is not just a distant, imagined figure but a living, breathing force, woven into the fabric of the earth, the stars, and the very process of birth itself. Her energy fills the room, the hands of the midwife steadying the woman through the waves of pain, guiding her through the sacred threshold of motherhood. In cultures across the world, childbirth was never seen as a solitary experience. It was a communal, sacred event, wrapped in rituals, prayers, and offerings to the divine. The mother, the child, and the midwife were not alone in the sacred act of bringing life into the world. Every contraction, every breath, was accompanied by a presence beyond the human, goddesses who were called upon for protection, strength, and guidance. In ancient Egypt, women preparing to give birth would often gather around statues or images of the goddess Isis, the protector of women and children. Isis was believed to offer her divine assistance during the pain of labor, her magical powers easing the journey from conception to birth. The rituals surrounding childbirth in Egypt were filled with prayers, songs, and offerings, as the mother called upon the goddess to bless her with a safe delivery and a healthy child. The midwife's role in these rituals was not just to assist with the physical act of delivery but to act as a mediator between the mother and the goddess, ensuring that the divine presence was honored and invoked at every stage. In the ancient cultures of the Americas, goddess worship was similarly intertwined with the rituals of childbirth. In the Andean mountains, women would call on Pachamama, the earth goddess, to bless them with the strength needed for a safe birth. Pachamama, revered as the nurturing force of the earth, was believed to protect both mother and child. The rituals for childbirth in these cultures were simple yet profound, offering flowers, food, and prayers to the earth goddess in thanks for the new life she was helping to bring into the world. Midwives, too, held a sacred role, acting as the earthly channel through which the goddess's energy flowed. These women were not just experienced in the practicalities of childbirth, they were seen as spiritual guides, able to connect with the divine through their deep understanding of the process of life's creation. Across the ocean in Africa, goddess worship and childbirth rituals were equally sacred. Oshun, the Yoruba goddess of fertility and motherhood, was called upon by women in labor. Her power was invoked in a ritual that involved offerings of honey, fruits, and water, symbols of fertility and life. Oshun was seen as a protector of women's health, a goddess who ensured the safe arrival of babies and the well-being of the mother. Midwives in African cultures were not only responsible for the physical care of the mother and child but were seen as the spiritual caregivers who connected the human experience with the divine. Through their knowledge of herbal remedies, chants, and prayers, midwives were able to harness the power of the goddess, guiding the woman through the birth with both practical wisdom and spiritual strength. In the heart of Asia, goddess-centered practices were similarly intertwined with childbirth. In Japan, women would pray to Kannon, the goddess of mercy and compassion, asking for her protection during labor. Kannon's divine energy was believed to ease the pain of childbirth and ensure that the child would enter the world safe and sound. In Korea, the role of the midwife was also deeply connected to goddess worship. Rituals surrounding birth were elaborate, with women offering prayers to the spirits of their ancestors as well as the goddesses of fertility and childbirth. These rituals were designed to ensure that both mother and child were protected from evil spirits, while also invoking the blessing of the divine for a safe and healthy birth. Even in ancient Greece, where goddesses like Hera and Eileithyia were worshipped as protectors of marriage and childbirth, the sacredness of the birthing process was undeniable. Women would pray to Hera, goddess of marriage, to ensure a safe delivery, while Eileithyia, goddess of childbirth, was called upon to help ease the labor pains. These prayers were not just whispered to the heavens but were part of detailed, structured rituals that involved offerings, songs, and ceremonies. The midwife, too, played a central role in these rituals, acting as the earthly representative of the goddess's power. In the midst of all these ancient practices, the figure of the midwife stood as a bridge between the human and the divine. The midwife was not merely a person performing a medical task, she was a spiritual guide, a protector, a mediator between the mother and the goddess. She was the one who ensured that the goddess's blessings would be carried through the birth, and she understood the sacredness of her role. In many cultures, midwives were seen as having special knowledge, passed down through generations, about how to channel the power of the divine into the birthing room. They were trusted not only to assist with the birth but to help guide the mother through the spiritual and emotional journey of labor. As the hours of labor stretched on, the rituals continued. Chants and songs filled the air, calming the mother and reminding her that she was not alone. The goddess was with her, walking alongside her every step of the way, offering protection and guidance. The midwife's hands were steady, her voice soothing, as she whispered words of encouragement. Together, they invoked the goddess, calling upon her to bring the child safely into the world, to bless the mother with strength, and to offer the child a lifetime of protection and love. These rituals, these prayers, these goddess-centered practices, reflect something deeply human, the need for connection, for the sacred, for reassurance in the face of life's most transformative experience. In the act of giving birth, a woman does not just bring life into the world, she also enters a sacred space, where the divine touches her, where she becomes part of a long, unbroken chain of mothers, midwives, and goddesses who have come before her. The rituals may differ from culture to culture, but the essence remains the same: birth is sacred, and in the presence of the goddess, every mother is both protected and empowered. The moon hung high in the sky, casting its soft, silvery glow across the earth. In the quiet of the evening, a small group of women gathered in a circle, their hands raised to the heavens, as the flame of a single candle flickered in the center of the circle. With every word spoken, a pulse seemed to echo through the air, an energy, ancient and timeless, reverberating in the hearts of those gathered. Tonight, they were calling upon the goddess, the Great Mother, who had watched over them and their ancestors for millennia. This was not just a ritual, it was a return to something sacred. A deep connection to the earth, to the cycles of life, to motherhood, and to the goddess who represented it all. In the world today, many still worship the goddess as a symbol of fertility, motherhood, and the sacredness of life. Modern Wicca and neo-paganism are filled with echoes of ancient traditions that have not been forgotten but rather have found new life in contemporary spirituality. The Great Mother, the nurturing figure who embodies the earth, the seasons, and the cycles of life and death, is still revered. She is not a distant, forgotten figure of the past but a living presence, an energy that connects all things. For those who walk the path of Wicca or other forms of paganism, the goddess is central to their beliefs. She represents the feminine divine, the force of creation, and the protector of life. Her worship is woven into the rituals and practices that focus on the natural world, the changing of the seasons, the phases of the moon, the rhythms of the earth. Each of these cycles is a reflection of her presence, reminding followers of the deep, unbroken connection between life, death, and rebirth. In the quiet solitude of the forest or around the sacred circle, women call upon the goddess in many forms, sometimes as the mother, sometimes as the maiden, sometimes as the crone. The three aspects of the goddess represent the different stages of life: youth and vitality, motherhood and creation, wisdom and reflection. Through these stages, the goddess embodies the full spectrum of womanhood, a powerful reminder that every woman is part of this sacred, cyclical dance. In modern paganism, the Great Mother is not an abstract concept but a real, tangible presence. For many, the goddess is a guide, offering comfort, strength, and wisdom during life's most transformative experiences, whether it be birth, fertility, or the challenges of motherhood. Rituals centered on the goddess are an affirmation of the deep connection between woman and nature, the understanding that the power of creation flows through the body, and that this power is sacred. For women giving birth today, there are many who choose to honor the goddess in their own way. The ancient rituals of invoking the goddess during labor and birth have been reclaimed, offering a spiritual dimension to the experience of motherhood. Women light candles, chant prayers, and meditate on the divine energy that flows through them as they bring new life into the world. Some draw symbols on their bodies, or offer flowers, as a tribute to the goddess, honoring her presence as they face the intense journey of childbirth. These rituals are not only about the physical act of birth, but also about recognizing the deeper, spiritual transformation that occurs when a woman becomes a mother. In the midst of the modern world's fast pace and focus on technology, these practices offer a return to something more grounded, more meaningful. They remind women of the sacredness of their bodies, of the strength they carry within them, and the divine support they receive from the goddess as they navigate the experience of motherhood. For many, the goddess is a source of empowerment, reminding them that they are part of a much larger cycle, one that has been repeated for centuries and will continue for generations to come. The idea of the Great Mother, a universal force of fertility and creation, has a profound impact on those who feel disconnected from the earth and from themselves. In a world where the connection to nature is often lost, the goddess offers a sense of grounding. She brings women back to their roots, to the sacredness of their bodies, to the rhythms of the earth that have been present since the beginning of time. In her embrace, women find strength, reassurance, and a reminder that they are not alone. The goddess is with them, as she has been with countless generations before them. In addition to honoring the goddess during birth and fertility, modern pagans also reclaim ancient rituals surrounding motherhood. Midwives, for example, still play a central role in many pagan communities. These women are not just practitioners of a craft but are seen as spiritual guides, keepers of ancient knowledge and traditions. The act of midwifery, deeply intertwined with the sacredness of birth, is a form of divine service, a bridge between the human and the divine. Through their knowledge and care, midwives continue the ancient practices of goddess worship, offering women not just physical assistance but spiritual support as they bring life into the world. As women gather around a sacred circle, invoking the goddess, they remember the mothers who came before them, their grandmothers, their great-grandmothers, and all the women who have walked the path of motherhood. Each prayer, each chant, each offering is a link in the chain that connects them to this ancient, powerful force. The goddess is not a distant memory but a present, living energy that guides, nurtures, and protects. In moments of stillness, as the candle burns low and the ritual comes to an end, there is a quiet understanding, the goddess has heard their prayers. She is always there, waiting, watching, supporting. She is within them, and through them, the power of creation continues. It is a reminder that every mother, every woman, is part of something far greater, a cycle that stretches across time, carrying with it the wisdom and strength of the goddess. The rituals may change, but the essence remains the same, the divine feminine is alive, and it is through her that the world continues to turn. The wind whispered through the trees, a soft hum that seemed to carry the voices of the ages. It was the time of twilight, when the sun dips low on the horizon, casting a soft golden glow across the land. In the distance, a gathering of women stood together, hands raised to the heavens, each woman representing one part of an ancient, sacred story, the maiden, the mother, and the crone. These three stages of womanhood were not just phases in a lifetime, but symbols of an eternal cycle, each a powerful force in its own right, yet interconnected and inseparable. As they stood together, the air seemed to thrum with energy, as if the very earth itself acknowledged the sacredness of what they represented. The maiden, the young woman at the beginning of her journey, her heart full of potential and possibility. She is the embodiment of youth, of dreams, of the first stirrings of desire and curiosity. In her, the seed of creation is planted, an untapped source of life waiting to unfold. The maiden is a symbol of innocence and beginnings, representing the hope and beauty of what is to come. She is the first bloom of spring, full of promise and yet untouched by the hardships that life may bring. The mother follows, embodying the fullness of life, the nurturing spirit, and the one who brings forth life into the world. The mother is the embodiment of fertility, of love that runs deep and wide. Her arms cradled not only her children, but the world itself. In her presence, all things are possible. The mother is a force of creation, a protector, and a giver. She is the earth's soil, rich and fertile, holding within it the power to nurture and sustain. Her power is not just in the ability to give life, but in her capacity to give love, wisdom, and strength. And then, there is the crone. She stands at the edge of twilight, her face weathered and wise. The crone has seen it all, joy and sorrow, birth and death, love and loss. Her strength is found not in her youth, but in her wisdom, in the lessons she has learned, and the peace she has found within herself. She is the keeper of knowledge, the guide who helps those who follow find their way through the darker times. The crone is not a symbol of decline, but of the deep, eternal strength that comes with age and experience. Her wisdom is the foundation upon which the world is built, and her quiet presence is a testament to the resilience of the spirit. Together, these three figures, the maiden, the mother, and the crone, form a perfect cycle, a never-ending loop of life, death, and rebirth. These archetypes are not confined to one culture or one set of beliefs, they stretch across the world, appearing in the myths and stories of countless traditions. In Celtic traditions, the triple goddess represents the three stages of womanhood, with the maiden symbolizing spring, the mother summer, and the crone winter. In Greek mythology, the goddesses Demeter, Persephone, and Hecate embody these same stages, each playing a unique role in the cycle of life and death. Even in Hinduism, the goddess Tridevi, comprising Saraswati, Lakshmi, and Parvati, can be seen as reflecting the same archetypal journey. What makes these archetypes so powerful is that they are not just about physical growth or life stages, but about the psychological and spiritual transitions that every woman goes through. The maiden, with her curiosity and energy, represents the beginning of a journey, a time of discovery and learning. For many, it is the moment when they first connect with the world around them, when the seeds of their identity are planted. As the mother, a woman steps into her power, her ability to create and nurture life. It is the stage of giving, of selflessness, and yet, it is also a time of deep transformation. The mother is both the protector and the one who must let go, knowing that the child she has nurtured must eventually find its own way. Then, as the crone, a woman enters into a time of reflection and wisdom. This is not a time of loss, but of deep understanding. The crone's wisdom is a gift that cannot be taken away by age or time. It is the quiet knowing of the cycles of life, a deep peace that comes with having weathered many storms. The crone is the embodiment of the life lived fully, the one who has seen the full range of human experience and has come to accept both the light and the dark. Psychologically, these stages are just as important. The maiden represents the phase of identity formation, the time when a woman figures out who she is, what she wants, and where her place is in the world. The mother stage is one of giving and nurturing, but it is also a time of transformation, as women often discover strengths and capacities within themselves that they never knew existed. And then the crone brings with her the wisdom of the years, the ability to see life from a broader perspective, to know that everything is part of a greater pattern. The symbolism of these stages is also connected to fertility and motherhood. The maiden, with her untouched potential, is the beginning of all things. She is the season of new growth, of new possibilities, and of the hope that every new generation brings. The mother is the peak of creation, the fertility of the earth mirrored in the fertility of the body. The crone, though not often associated with fertility in the physical sense, is the fertility of the soul, the wisdom that grows from experience, the harvest of all that has been lived. These archetypes also provide a roadmap for women to understand and navigate their own lives. They offer a reflection of the full range of human experience, with all its complexity and beauty. No stage is greater than the other, and each one holds its own unique gifts. The maiden is the spark, the mother is the flame, and the crone is the steady glow that illuminates the way forward. As the women stood together, their hands raised, the night stretched out before them, and they knew that they were not alone. They were part of an eternal cycle, one that had been celebrated for millennia, one that connected them to the earth, to each other, and to the generations that had come before and would come after. The maiden, the mother, and the crone were not just symbols of womanhood, they were symbols of life itself, ever turning, ever growing, ever changing. In this sacred dance, each woman found her place, and each woman found herself. In the quiet stillness of the night, a woman cradles her newborn in her arms, a child so small, so perfect, that it seems as though the world itself has paused in awe. Around her, the air hums with a sense of something ancient, something sacred, a story told across countless generations. The birth of a child is a miracle in its own right, but in myth, there are births that carry the weight of the divine. These are the births that defy nature, that echo through the heavens, that change the very course of the earth. One such birth was that of Horus, born to the goddess Isis in ancient Egypt. Isis, a mother who embodies both magic and nurturing love, gave birth to Horus after a time of immense trials. Her strength and devotion were tested in ways no mortal could endure, and yet she remained steadfast. Her son, Horus, would go on to become a symbol of power and renewal, the protector of Egypt, and the embodiment of divine kingship. In his birth, the gods themselves seemed to bless the earth, reminding the people that even in the darkest times, light could emerge, that from loss and pain, hope could be reborn. The story of Mary and Jesus, so deeply rooted in the Christian tradition, echoes this divine birth in ways that resonate far beyond the realm of religion. The Virgin Mary, a humble woman, bore a child under impossible circumstances, one that was foretold by prophets and welcomed by angels. Jesus, born to her in a stable, was not just a child, he was the embodiment of divine love and redemption. His birth was heralded by stars, and the heavens themselves seemed to rejoice. In his tiny hands lay the salvation of the world, and the world would never be the same. In these divine births, the mother and child become something more than human, they become symbols of hope, salvation, and transformation. What makes these births so powerful is not just the miraculous nature of them, but the bond that is forged between the mother and the child. In both Isis and Mary, there is a deep connection to the divine, a strength that transcends earthly limits. And yet, they are both mothers, in every sense of the word, vulnerable, loving, and protective. Their children, the divine children, are not born of normal means, but through the intervention of the gods themselves. This relationship between the mother and the divine child is one that is woven into the very fabric of creation. The child is both human and divine, representing the connection between the earth and the heavens. Through them, the divine touches the mortal world, bringing forth a new era of hope, wisdom, and transformation. But the divine child is not just a passive symbol. The child is the future, the promise of what is to come. In the story of Horus, the young god represents not only the protection of Egypt but also the renewal of life itself. His birth marks the return of balance and harmony to the world. In the case of Jesus, his birth is the beginning of a journey that would change the world forever. He would grow, teach, heal, and ultimately sacrifice himself for the sake of others. These children are not simply born to exist, they are born to change the world, to lead it into a new age. The mother, too, plays a crucial role. She is the vessel through which the divine enters the world, the one who carries the child and nurtures it, even as the world watches with bated breath. The mothers of these divine children are not just women, they are representations of the eternal power of creation. Their bodies become sacred, their love becomes the force that drives the world forward. In their nurturing, they become the first temples of the divine, the first places where the divine is made flesh. This sacred family unit, the mother and child, is a powerful symbol in many mythologies. It is a reminder that creation itself is an act of love, of connection, of sacrifice. It is a force that transcends time and space, that exists in every corner of the world, from the great temples of Egypt to the quiet manger in Bethlehem. The divine family is one that is revered and celebrated, for it is through them that the world is made whole, that life continues, and that the divine touches the lives of every person. Across cultures, the symbolism of the divine family is echoed in countless ways. In Hinduism, the goddess Parvati and her son, Ganesha, are a prime example of the sacred bond between mother and child. Ganesha, born under extraordinary circumstances, represents wisdom, intellect, and new beginnings. Parvati, with her deep love and devotion, is the nurturing force behind his growth. Their story is a reminder that the divine exists in all of us, that through the love of a mother, even the most difficult paths can be overcome. In many ways, the divine family represents the ideal, an ideal that exists in every culture, in every religion. It is the mother who bears the weight of the world, who nurtures and protects. It is the child who represents the future, the hope, the promise of a better world. And together, they form a bond that cannot be broken, a symbol of love that transcends the physical realm. The importance of the family unit, both divine and mortal, cannot be overstated. It is the foundation upon which society is built. It is where life begins, where it is nurtured, and where it grows. In every divine birth, there is the promise of a better tomorrow, a brighter future, and a new world. These births, miraculous and sacred, remind us that the love between a mother and her child is the most powerful force in existence. It is through this love that the divine enters the world, and it is through this love that the world is forever changed. There is a moment, a quiet heartbeat in the world, when the gentle power of a mother, her nurturing love, her endless strength, seems to echo from the distant past into the present. It is the moment when a woman, sitting quietly in the stillness, can feel the weight of generations before her. She is not just an individual, but part of something much larger, a story that has been told in countless forms, from the ancient goddess statues to the prayers whispered under the stars. The faces may have changed, the names may have evolved, but the essence remains, the sacred, unbreakable bond between mother and child, between creation and care. In today's world, the ancient archetypes of the goddess still resonate. They are not mere relics of the past but living, breathing symbols that continue to shape the way we understand ourselves and the world around us. These archetypes, the maiden, the mother, the crone, are not just figures to be worshipped from a distance, but parts of the human experience that continue to influence how we navigate our lives. The goddess is not only a symbol of fertility and motherhood but of strength, resilience, and wisdom. She reminds us that within every woman is the power of creation, and within every man is the capacity to nurture and protect. The stories of ancient goddesses like Demeter, Isis, and Parvati speak of more than just motherhood, they speak of the earth itself. They are the living embodiment of the cycles of life and death, of the seasons that bring new life and those that usher in rest. These goddesses remind us that motherhood is not just about giving birth but about creating, protecting, and sustaining life. They remind us that fertility is not only about the physical act of reproduction but about the creation of ideas, relationships, and communities. In today's world, as we face global challenges, climate change, societal unrest, and shifting family dynamics, the call of the Mother Goddess is more powerful than ever. We look to the earth as a mother figure, one that sustains and nurtures, and yet, we are tasked with protecting her from harm. We search for ways to balance our modern lives with the ancient rhythms of nature, seeking connection with the earth's cycles and understanding the deep need for care and respect. The goddess reminds us that the earth is alive, that she is our mother, and that we must honor her as we honor our own mothers. The intersection of motherhood, fertility, and modern feminism is a complicated, yet beautiful, dance. For centuries, women's roles were confined to the home, to raising children, and to the maintenance of the family. In many ways, these ancient goddesses were symbols of the ideal woman, one who was revered for her ability to bear life and nurture it. But as society has evolved, so too has the understanding of womanhood. Modern feminism has given voice to women who choose different paths, paths that may not lead to motherhood, paths that embrace autonomy and independence. The goddess, in her many forms, stands as a symbol of all that women can be, nurturing, yes, but also fierce, independent, creative, and wise. It is this modern reclamation of power that keeps the goddess alive. She is not just the mother in the kitchen or the caregiver on the front lines. She is also the woman who leads, who creates, who challenges the status quo. The modern mother goddess is not bound by tradition, she is free to choose her own destiny, whether it includes children or not. And in doing so, she redefines what it means to be a goddess, to be a woman, in today's world. Still, the pull of the mother goddess remains. The desire for connection, for community, for care and nurturing is an intrinsic part of human nature. It is woven into the fabric of society. Motherhood, in all its forms, is sacred. Whether it is a mother's love for her child, a woman's care for the earth, or the desire to protect and heal the world, the goddess lives on. She is honored not just in temples or prayers, but in every moment of care and compassion that we offer to each other. In the soft embrace of a mother holding her child, in the hands that soothe a sick loved one, in the strength it takes to protect what we cherish, the goddess is there. Modern rituals honoring the goddess have emerged, blending the old with the new, the sacred with the everyday. In some circles, women gather in circles, lighting candles and sharing stories of their own journeys through motherhood. They honor the cycles of their own bodies, the changes, the struggles, the triumphs. They find strength in the sisterhood of women, a collective force that spans across generations. These rituals may not look like the ancient ceremonies of old, but they carry the same essence, the same reverence for life and creation. In other corners of the world, goddess worship has taken root in new forms. In yoga studios and meditation centers, women seek out the divine feminine within themselves. They call upon the goddess for guidance, for protection, for healing. In these spaces, the goddess is not just a figure from the past, but a force that is as alive and powerful today as she ever was. Through movement, through breath, through intention, women reconnect with their divine power, the power to create, to heal, to nurture, and to lead. The goddess, in all her forms, remains relevant because she represents the very core of what it means to be human. She represents the power to give life, to protect life, and to shape the world around us. She is the mother, yes, but she is also the warrior, the healer, the leader. She is a reminder that women have always been, and will always be, at the heart of creation. Their power is sacred. It is divine. In today's world, where the challenges are great and the future uncertain, the goddess still stands as a beacon of hope. She reminds us that no matter what path we walk, whether we are mothers, daughters, or warriors, we are never alone. We are always connected to the earth, to each other, and to the timeless power of creation. The goddess is alive, not just in myths, but in the hearts of women everywhere. There's a moment in every life when the earth seems to pause, holding its breath, waiting for the new life to begin. The rhythm of the world slows, just for a heartbeat, before a cry pierces the silence. That cry, of a newborn, fresh and full of possibility, marks a new beginning, a continuation of an ancient story. For centuries, the arrival of a child has been seen as nothing less than miraculous, an act filled with both pain and beauty, as the world moves and changes with each new breath. In that moment, in the tender embrace of mother and child, the sacred bond is formed, an unspoken connection between the divine and the human, between the past and the present. And at the heart of it all, is the timeless power of the goddess. Across all cultures, the goddess has been a figure that connects women to the sacred and the eternal. She is not just an image of fertility or motherhood but a living symbol of creation itself. From the ancient stories of Isis in Egypt to Demeter in Greece, from Ocean in Africa to Bridget in Celtic traditions, the goddess has always represented the forces of life, its creation, protection, and ultimate transformation. She is the earth beneath our feet, the cycle of the seasons, the nurturing hand that guides us through the most sacred of all human experiences, birth. Every culture has shaped her story in its own way, but at the core of it, the goddess remains a symbol of strength, of power, and of boundless love. The goddess is the one who gives birth, not just to life but to new possibilities, new beginnings. She is the protector of the family, the earth, and all of humanity. She is the one who watches over us as we bring new life into the world, whispering prayers of strength, guiding the hands of those who help bring children into this world. She is the heartbeat of motherhood, a presence that has never faded, though the world around her has changed. In every tale, the goddess holds a deep, undeniable connection to human creation. She is the embodiment of the divine feminine, the force of life itself. She represents the mysteries of the body, the cycles of nature, the sacred act of bringing forth life. The moment of childbirth has always been one of the most sacred rituals in human existence. It's a moment when the divine touches the earth, when the veil between the physical and the spiritual is thin. In those moments of labor and birth, a woman steps into her power, a power that has been revered for centuries. The goddess, in her infinite forms, stands as a reminder of that power. She is the creator, the mother, the healer, the protector. She is the one who makes life possible. But it's not just about the physical act of creation. The goddess embodies the wisdom and care that go beyond childbirth. She represents the nurturing energy that shapes lives long after birth. From the moment a child is born, the mother's role becomes a sacred one, as she teaches, protects, and nourishes. The goddess reminds us that motherhood is not just about giving birth, it is about raising the next generation, imparting wisdom, sharing love, and creating a safe space for life to grow. As we look at the evolution of goddess worship, we see how the divine feminine has transformed through the ages. In ancient times, the goddess was revered in temples and rituals, as the powerful, sacred force that shaped not only the lives of women but the fabric of society itself. Over time, as cultures and religions shifted, the goddess began to fade from mainstream worship. Yet, even in these changes, the goddess never truly left. She still echoes in the stories we tell, in the symbols we use, in the rituals we continue to practice. In today's world, where society often pushes the divine feminine into the background, the goddess remains as relevant as ever. She has taken on new forms, found in the circles of modern pagans, in the growing reverence for nature, in the reclaiming of ancient rituals. More women than ever are calling upon the goddess, reconnecting with the power and wisdom that lies within them. The goddess no longer resides only in ancient myths, she lives within us. She is the strength in a woman's heart, the compassion in her hands, the love in her gaze. She is the force of life that binds us all, across time and space. There is a quiet revolution happening. Women are turning to the goddess once more, not as a distant figure but as a part of their daily lives. They seek connection with the earth, with their own bodies, with the cycles of the moon and the seasons. Through rituals, prayers, and meditations, women are reclaiming their power, celebrating their divine femininity. They are not just mothers, they are creators, healers, leaders. And in this reclamation, the goddess is reborn. The goddess serves as a reminder of the infinite potential that lies within every woman. She is not confined to a specific role or identity, she is a symbol of the power to create, to love, to heal, to protect. She is the force that has shaped the world for thousands of years, and as long as there are women giving birth, nurturing life, and leading with love, she will continue to shape it. Her power is eternal. Her presence, undeniable. The goddess represents all that is sacred in life. She is the one who watches over us in the quiet moments of birth, in the deep, personal moments of motherhood, and in the daily acts of care we offer to the world. She is the reflection of the divine within us all, a constant reminder that we are never alone in our journey. The goddess is not just a part of ancient history, she is part of the story that continues to unfold with each new life, with each act of love, with each moment of creation. Her power is timeless, her love is infinite, and her presence is always with us.